Sharmila Sharkar from class 8 is fortunate enough to share my history project with you, and our chapter is From Trade to Territories. And Akib Afzal, Ayhan Rafiq, Ayush Shah, Abadat Hussain, Ruxana Parveen, Shabnam Tabassum Malik, Topojit Das are going to explain you the chapter thoroughly and clearly. So let's get started.
Hello everyone, myself Abadat Hussain of class 8, and today me and my partner Arifa are going to discuss some topics from the chapter Trade to Territory. Okay, let's start with the arrival of the Europeans. India was a country rich in mineral and agricultural resources.
Yes, explorers such as Vasco da Gama of Portuguese who discovered a new sea road to India.
We also found that the price of people in India was 126 that of in Italy and can easily cover up the cost of transportation.
Abadar, do you know the other countries were also interested in trading with India?
Yeah, I know. Countries such as French, Portuguese, etc. were interested in doing trades with India.
Okay, we are going to discuss about Europeans setting footholds in India.
Okay, let's start with the Portuguese. Portuguese were the first to trade with India by establishing their trading center at Kochi, Goa and Daman. To get into the trade, they even fight small battles with Arabs.
Hey Abadar, do you know when their homeland passed?
Yeah, it was passed in the year 1580. With their homeland passed, they did not expand much on Indian soil.
To the next topic, that is the Dutch.
Hey Arifa, do you know why did they establish?
Yes, the Dutch established training center in Surat, Ahmedabad, Masolipatnam and Nakmatnam. Other, do you know they essentially purchased indigo, silk, cotton, textile, etc.
Yes, I got it. Okay Arifa, let's talk about our next topic, that is the French.
Yes, French formed a trading company in 1667.
Yes, they established their settlement in Puducherry, May, etc.
Do you know the first French factory was established in Surat in 1667 under the Director Generalship of Martin?
Yes.
Let us discuss about our next topic, that is the British. In 1600, the East India Company was awarded a charter from Queen Elizabeth I.
Yeah, this right gave them protection from competition with other British companies, but was not applicable under European companies.
Okay.
Establishing fortification in India led to conflicts with the local ruler, in which caused the political alignment to take shape.
Hi friend, I am Topojit Das from class 8. Me and my friend Akib will discuss some topic on the chapter Trade to Territory, and I will discuss the topic concept of Bengal. Let's start. The East Indian Company set up their first factory on the bank of river Hooghly. This factory led to the settlement of merchant and the trade in the vicinity. That is how by 1696 the company started to make fort around the settlement. Now my friend Akib will discuss some more topics with you.
And now I am going to start with the Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey took place between the Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaula, and the East Indian Company. The East Indian Company was interested in increasing its control over the Bengal region, as it was a very fertile area at that time. Now the various points which lead to this battle are: Number 1. The misuse of the royal firman by the company. In 1717, the company had received a royal firman from the Mughal Emperor Farooq Siyar, but the company's executive misused it, so Sirajuddaula objected this practice. Number 2. The fortification of Kolkata. The English had begun to strengthen the fortification of Fort William and mounted guns on the walls of the fort without the permission of Sirajuddaula. Number 3. Disrespecting the Nawabs. The company had started writing disrespectful letters to the Nawabs, which hurted their pride. Finally, the battle took place in the year 1757 between the forces of Sirajuddaula and the army led by Lord Clive. The army of the Nawabs lost the battle, and Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of Bengal by the company. And now I am going to start the Battle of Buxar. The company was only interested in expanding trade, and it was getting difficult as the puppet Nawab was not as much helpful. Soon, Mir Jafar was replaced by Mir Qasim, the son-in-law of Mir Jafar. Mir Qasim fought an alliance with the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II and the Nawab of Awadh, Sirajuddaula. The forces fought with the British forces on 22nd October 1964 at Buxar. The British won the battle and Mir Qasim was overthrown and Mir Jafar was again resustained. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Shabnam Tabassum Mullik. I am from class 8 and today me and my dear fellow mate Rukshana Parveen are going to discuss certain topics from the chapter From Trade to Territory. Okay, so now let's start with the dual government. The concept of the dual government was discovered in Bengal by Lord Clive in 1765.
And this also entailed a division of powers of governance between the Nawabs and the company.
Exactly. Also, the general administration was under the Nawab of the Bengal and the revenue was under the company. Okay, so now Rukshana, can you tell me why this system was abolished?
Yes, the system was abolished by Lord Warren Hastings in the year 1772 because there were frequent conflicts between the officials and the Nawabs.
Exactly. Also, the Battle of Buxar brought the ideas of expansionism and the company took over the territories.
Okay, so let's talk about subsidiary alliance now.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Basically, Shabnam, you must be aware of this that Lord Wellesley from 1798 to 1805 followed the policy of expansion of British in India.
Exactly. He then also entered into alliances with various Indian rulers and was able to assert the British authority. So, Rukshana, why do you think the treaty was negotiated?
Yes, I think the treaty was negotiated due to certain reasons like Indian states accepting the alliance had to recognize the company's power as a supreme one, and there were many more certain reasons.
So now there are many advantages for British and many disadvantages for the Indian states.
Also, the Nizam of Hyderabad was the first ever ruler to accept the terms of the subsidiary alliance, and gradually it extended to other areas.
Okay, so now let us discuss about wars with Mysore. Okay, so I hope Rukshana, you know that Mysore was a state under Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali?
Yes, of course. The increasing influence of both these rulers had posed a great challenge to the British. But what might be the reason for the three Anglo-Mysore War?
So basically the reason is the rulers took various steps which led to the three Anglo-Mysore War from 1767 to 1799.
Oh yes, in the Third Mysore War, Tipu Sultan was defeated and he was made to sign the Treaty of Seringamapatnam in the year 1792, but unfortunately in the Fourth Mysore War, he died fighting in the year 1799.
Okay, so now we can discuss about the Marathas and the Anglo-Maratha Wars. So, after the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761, the Marathas became weak, due to which the unity among them was destroyed.
Exactly, they were divided into different states under different chiefs. Shabnam, can you tell me how did the three Anglo-Maratha War begin?
Yeah, sure, because the British took advantage and started to interfere in their affairs, which at last led to the Anglo-Maratha War from 1775 to 1818.
In the First War from 1775 to 1782, there was no clear victor and it ended with the Treaty of Salbai and the British occupied Salsette.
In the Second Anglo-Maratha War in 1802, Peshwa Bajirao II signed the Treaty of Bassein, which forced the Marathas to accept the terms of the subsidiary alliance.
Yes, obviously, but unfortunately the Sindhyas and the Bhosles refused to accept the terms of this alliance, which led to the Second Anglo-Maratha War.
But the Anglo-Maratha War from 1817 to 1818 crushed the Marathas and the Peshwa was dethroned. At last, the company became the supreme power in India.
Wow, Shabnam, it was great discussing with you. Thank you everyone. Now the other topics from this chapter are going to be covered by our other dear fellow mates.
Everyone, I am Rafiq from class 8 and today me and my dear fellow mate Ayush Shah are going to discuss some few topics from the chapter From Trade to Territory. So let us start with the annexational scene. As we know, set on the route from British India to Afghanistan through the Bolan Pass.
Yes, of course, I know that. So East India Company was worried that Russia might invade from Sindh and attack them.
So they had signed the Treaty of Friendship with the Amirs of Sindh in 1809.
Yes, Arhan, I can tell you why this treaty was signed. This treaty was signed with the Amirs of Sindh so that France cannot settle in Sindh.
But one another treaty was also signed with the Amirs of Sindh in the year 1832.
And this treaty had given a free passage to the British merchant through Sindh, and no war vessel would enter through the Indus River.
Do you know that that the Treaty of 1852 was broken by the British when they carried armed forces to the Sindh in the war against Afghanistan?
Of course, I know that. In the year 1843, the British captured Sindh.
Now let us start with the annexation of Punjab. Do you know, Ayush, that the ruler of Punjab, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, is considered as the last independent Indian ruler?
I agree with you, Arhan. But after his death, Punjab got unstable and was captured by the British in the year 1849. Let's now discuss about doctrine of lapse. Do you know, Arhan, that the policy of doctrine of lapse was made by Lord Dalhousie?
Yes, he made this policy for controlling a number of states like Satara, Nagpur, Jhansi, Udaipur and Sambalpur.
Yes, I do feel the same. As per this policy, if a ruler of an independent state died without leaving a successor, then his state would pass to the British.
I agree with you. And the rulers could not adopt any successor without the permission of British. Okay, let us now discuss on the annexation of Awadh. Awadh, also called Oudh, located at the history region of northern India.
Yes, of course. Do you know, Arhan, that the Awadh was annexed by Lord Dalhousie on the pretext that Nawab was not able to rule it properly?
Yes, I know. And this created unrest among most of the Indian soldiers, as most among the Indian soldiers belong to Awadh.
Now we will discuss about Regulating Act of 1773. Regulating Act of 1773 was an act of the Parliament of Great Britain intended overall the management of East India Company.
Yes, the Regulating Act of 1773 had some certain features, such as the Governor of Bengal became the Governor General of India. To help the Governor General, a council of 4 ministers was set up and decisions were taken by majority vote.
Yes, I do feel the same. Under the Regulating Act of 1773, the Supreme Court was set up at Calcutta and the director of the company were required to place before the Ministry of all correspondence relating to civil, military and revenue matter relating to India.
Yes, but this act failed to regulate the company's powers. Now let us discuss on the topic East India Act. East India Act, also called as the East India Company Act.
Yes, East India Act was passed to overcome the defect of Regulating Act.
Yes, I know. There are some provisions of the East India Act. For political purposes, the company was placed under the British government. The governors of Bombay and Madras were made fully subordinate to the Governor General of Bengal.
There were also other two provisions of East India Act. The Governor General was given the power to overrule the advice of the Council, and the company retained its monopoly over Indian trade.
Let us now discuss on the last topic, the judiciary. Ayush, did you know that justice was implemented through a system of civil and criminal courts?
Exactly. The courts were presided over by the English.
Yes, but were held by the Maulvis and the Hindu Pandits for the explanation of traditional laws.
Yes, I agree with you. In 1775, 11 Pandit composed a digest of Hindu law and N.B. Haled translated it into English.
Okay, Ayush, that was a nice discussion with you. I think others will watch this video and can get the knowledge of the topics we have discussed. Our team members of the project had hard worked a lot to make the project the successful one. So that was the last discussion of our project. Thank you.
We hope you understood the video and enjoyed the video too. Thank you.